Hey guys, DC Network here, coming at you with another video. We recently discussed how Warner Bros. Discovery and Paramount are discussing a potential merger, and if you haven't heard about that or haven't seen that video, I'll leave a card above to it to get all the details on that. But at the end of that video, I touched on how it would be rather interesting to see Paramount and Warner Bros. Discovery become one company, because that would then mean that Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon are under the same umbrella, and I wanted to discuss today what I think that would mean for the future of Cartoon Network and how I actually think it might actually end up being a good thing for them. So first and foremost, I want to just discuss the channels as they stand right now, because obviously Paramount, Viacom, CBS, that big entity that it is already, they have in the cartoon landscape, in the Nickelodeon landscape if you will, they have Nickelodeon, they have Nicktoons, they have Teen Nick, they have Nick Jr. and Nick2 all as separate channels. Obviously Nickelodeon is the main channel where all the new series premiere. Nicktoons kind of like your, if you want to say checkered past, but in an entire channel where a lot of older Nickelodeon series premiere on there, or rather air on there in the animated landscape, in the animated form. Teen Nick is essentially the same thing but in the live action space. Then you have your Nick Jr. for preschool content, and then you have Nick2, which is just a 3-hour air delay of Nickelodeon. And obviously when it comes to Cartoon Network, we have Cartoon Network, which is shared between Cartoon Network and Adult Swim, and then you have Boomerang and Cartoonito, which, you know, obviously Cartoonito is a block on Cartoon Network. I think as it comes to the channels themselves, I don't think they're going to all of a sudden merge Cartoon Network and merge Nickelodeon as one single entity. I think they'll probably keep them separate, although I could be wrong. I could also see them making them one big cartoon channel too. I could see them going either way, but if I had to guess right now at this early junction, at this early point in time, I would say that they'll probably keep them separate entities and just have them run on their own, but share some of the same resources that goes into making Cartoon Network series versus what goes into making Nickelodeon. Like the same, you know, employees, the same resources, they'll both have them at their disposal. I could also see them making a bigger emphasis on Adult Swim being its own channel. Maybe Cartoonito just gets scrapped entirely and it's just straight up Nick Jr. We'd have to wait and see on how all of that goes over, but I would venture to guess that they'll probably leave them as separate entities. But at the same time, I could also see them merging them together as one entity, which would be really weird to see, you know, The Amazing World of Gumball and SpongeBob air on the same network. That would be rather strange to see, and I kind of do wonder if they do end up merging them to be one channel, which is the one that sticks around. Is it Nickelodeon or is it Cartoon Network? And that's something that we'll have to wait and see. I would say they're both very strong brands. I'm very biased towards Cartoon Network, obviously, since that's the whole gist of my channel, so hopefully that's the one that sticks around, but we'll see. And it's just crazy to me, just real quick side note, they used to have those ads, I think it was back in the late 90s, those commercials where it would be like Nickelodeon making fun of Cartoon Network and then Cartoon Network making fun of Nickelodeon or something of the sorts. And I think Cartoon Network even put an ad on Nickelodeon, and more recently I posted this on my Twitter and I think on my community tab as well, that I believe it was Latin America had a commercial for Cartoon Network or Max or something like that, and they were making fun of Nickelodeon in the commercial at the end of it. Imagine that these two companies that were duking it out back in the 90s and early 2000s, and even to an extent nowadays, they're gonna be one entity. Maybe that's kind of crazy to me. Anyways, where I think this could be a good thing for Cartoon Network is something that Nick has done over the past half decade or so, maybe decade at most, is they've had a pretty decent showing when it comes to, you know, actually acknowledging their older IPs, acknowledging their older properties. As I said before, they have Nicktoons as a channel, which they had, I forgot what it was called. Is it the Splat block? There's a 90s block on there that they play 90s shows at night. It might be called the Splat, I don't recall, but they have that. They've also over the past half decade, a decade, been making new content for these older series. They've been rebooting some and reviving some as well. Like we've seen the Rugrats reboot. We've seen they did a Hey Arnold movie a few years back. I think it was like 2017, 2018, around there. They did an Invader Zim movie. They actually acknowledge their older properties and actually do give them the light of day. And hey, you could get a box set of the majority of their popular series on Amazon or in-store shelves. Like I have Danny Phantom, the complete series on DVD. I have Hey Arnold, the complete series on DVD. I'm not saying every Nick show is on a complete series box set, because I know some of the live action shows like Drake and Josh don't have that, and Ned's Declassified too, they don't have that either. But nevertheless, they actually do promote and acknowledge their old properties, which is something that Cartoon Network has struggled in over the past decade and a half, if not more than that. That's where I think this merger could maybe help Cartoon Network, because Nickelodeon has done a much better job of acknowledging and respecting their past, as opposed to Cartoon Network, who really hasn't been doing that up until recently with Checkered Past. And even with the 30th anniversary, I know we've discussed this at length on the channel, but they only came out with 2 box sets to celebrate their big 30-year anniversary. Ed and Eddie and Foster's Home for Imaginary Friends. That's it. Nickelodeon, on the other hand, like I said before, most of their animated series you can get on a box set, at least the more popular ones. You have SpongeBob even. It has so many box sets with all the episodes, but yet a show like Ben 10, you could say that Ben 10 is kind of Cartoon Network SpongeBob, if you will. I don't know if that's an apples to apples comparison, but Cartoon Network's biggest property they've ever made is Ben 10, and Nickelodeon's biggest property they've ever made is SpongeBob. So SpongeBob has so many box sets. You could get all the episodes on DVD. Ben 10 never got a box set. Just shows you how one company really does acknowledge and they really do celebrate their history, and the other does not. And we can see with the Ben 10 example, Ben 10's been off the air now for almost 3 years we're coming into next year. Hopefully they learn from that if this merger does happen. I think that's where it could actually be a positive for them. But otherwise, other than that, I'm still trying to even wrap my head around this, in all honesty, because it's just such a weird concept to see Paramount and Warner Brothers, 2 rivals for the past 30 years, 40 years, even more than that, now might become buddies and be under the same umbrella. We'll see what happens with Warner Brothers Discovery, Paramount Incorporated, if it even becomes a thing, because of course this merger hasn't been agreed upon, and even if it is agreed upon, it still has to be approved by the antitrust agencies. Anyways, let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about all this. Do you guys agree with me that it'd be crazy to see Paramount and Warner Brothers be under the same umbrella with Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon, 2 heated rivals for the past 30 plus years, be within the same company and using the same resources and studios? That'd be really weird to see. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to see more content like this from DC Network. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.